We're going to do a color wheel assignment to just sort of get familiar with our color wheel, and you'll be getting your primary colors, so yellow, red, and blue. And we have this worksheet that I copied onto a little thicker paper. We're going to create all of our primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors. You mix all three to get your chromatic gray. And then there are certain balances of color that will get you a skin tone to try and get as close to black as you can, to make a pink and to make a brown. So we're gonna do this for you right now, and I wanna show you a fairly quick way to kind of get through it. So you need to wet the cakes with water so that they activate. And we'll start with blue first. I just kind of rub my brush in it a little bit to get the paint nice and saturated. And then I go ahead and I put a dot in the blue. If I want it more intense, you just can add a little bit more. Now I don't necessarily want you to go to the edges because then we'll have some issues with color bleeding. So just having a little circle inside the space is going to be fine. Now to get blue, green, green, yellow, green, we need to have a little bit of blue in it. But essentially we're going to have less and less blue as we go along until we hit the next primary. And the same thing on the other side to the red. We don't want to put any blue in the red, otherwise it's not going to be red anymore. But we do want to have, like, this is the most blue, we should have a little less, and almost none for the next color. So what I'm going to do is I got my brush, which already has this blue on it. I'm just going to dunk it in water, shake it, and then I do the next circle. Dunk it, shake it, and do the next circles. Dunk it, shake it, and do the next circles. And I can really only do this with the first color to go in both directions because there's nothing that's going to mess up the color. But you could see that the blue is very saturated here, and it becomes less and less as we get closer to the next primary colors. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush, and I'm going to go to red next. So I activate the red with water on my brush, and I use a saturated red right here. So I'm going to take my brush, dunk it, give it a little shake, and I'm going to put some here. Dunk it, shake it, a little here, dunk it, shake it, and a little here. So you can see that the red has sort of gone less and less, and the blue seems to take over. Clean my brush again, and I'm going to do red again, because if I do it now, I'm going to have blue on the brush because it's still wet. So I'm going to go ahead and use the red, and just make sure it's saturated there. Dunk, shake, next. Dunk, shake, next. Dunk, shake, next. So you can see it's barely there. And you know what? That looks like pink, doesn't it? So I can go ahead and put that over here because that gives me my pink. So one of my outer squares is complete. Clean off my brush. Our last color is yellow. So I will activate that paint, get a nice saturated yellow, and I'll put that here. And dunk, shake, and put it here. Dunk, shake, put that here. Dunk, shake, and put that here. Clean up my brush. Now I'll go in the other direction. Get my saturated yellow. Extra saturate that. Sometimes your brush may have a little hair that comes out of it. New brushes do that. Nothing to worry about. Just pull it out. Dunk, shake. Do that here. Dunk, shake here. Dunk, shake here. And I'm done with my main color wheel. Now we're going to do chromatic gray, which is going to be all three primary colors in one space. So I'm going to go ahead and put some yellow in the middle. Clean my brush. You do want to clean your brush in between, and you can squeeze it if you want, if you feel like it's got too much water, because I have a lot of water there already, so I don't need to add more. Go ahead and pick up some red, put that in there. And I do have a lot of water in my blue, so just give it a light squeeze, and then I'll put some blue in the middle. All right, that is super dark and saturated, but we call that chromatic gray when it's got all three colors in there. Now we're gonna go ahead and make a skin tone. The trick to skin tone is it's generally going to be a lighter tone. So we start with our yellow And our red. Okay, that's a little intense, but we'll make it work. And we're going to add just a teeny tiny bit of blue. Let me clean that off my brush because I don't want too much. And we're going to mix that. And if I test it off to the side, you can see that's maybe a little too purpley. So I'm going to go ahead and continue mixing a skin tone off to the side now. I'm going to add a little yellow, a little red. Oh, that might be too much. There we go. Now that's a skin tone. So just do it right next to the box if you feel like maybe the box didn't work out. So we do have extra area around the perimeter that you can do that. But that's not a bad skin tone for my skin tone. And if your skin tone is darker, you would add a little bit more blue. Maybe it might be more like that. So we're going to try and make black. So black is going to be an intense color, okay, and it will have all three primaries, but you want them saturated. So you may want to squeeze your brush, add in the blue, add in the red. So we want less water for this one. And that's a really dark purple. And if we add in some saturated yellow, a little bit, that should darken it up and kill the purple. So that's pretty darn dark. Now, if you see that it's like this is still a little bit on the purpley side, I can add more yellow because the opposite of purple is yellow. That will help balance out the color. There we go. Now it's starting to light up, and I could go back, add some blue and red until I'm happy with it. So this is kind of a dark gray. It almost looks like a chromatic gray. The only real difference between chromatic gray and making it black is going to be that you have less water for the black and maybe more water for the chromatic gray. And then our last one is to make brown, and that is also going to be the same three primaries. And actually, when I look at that, that looks more brown to me. So I'm going to try it again. A little blue, a little red, and a little yellow. And to me that looks a little bit too orange. The opposite of orange is blue, so we can add a little bit more blue to that. There we go. That's kind of a brown color. I could intensify it if I want to. So our skin tone, making black, chromatic gray, and making brown are all three colors, but it's different balances of the three colors. For the skin tone, it's mostly yellow and red with a little bit of blue. For making black, it's all three primaries, but very little water. That will make it look like black. And then for making brown, it's kind of a medium amount of water with all three primaries, and you should get a nice, it could even turn like a chocolatey brown. Pink is just a lot of water with very, very little red. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and give this a try. Remember that you have lots of space that you can kind of play around with. If you can't mix it in the box, just mix it next to it. And then at the very end, make sure that you wash your brush well and test it on a little scrap of your paper. If it comes out clear, then your brush is clean. Now, as you look at your paint, if accidentally you get one color into another, you need to clean out your paint cakes. And the way to do that is very easy. You just add some water to the messed up color, activate it, clean out your brush, squeeze out your brush much tighter now, and it'll be like a sponge and it'll soak up the mix of color that you didn't want. We can do this for puddles as well, because if you store the paints and they have puddles in them, they could possibly get all over the place. So just clean the brush and soak up that water and then clean it out. Again, always test your brush on the side to make sure it's clean. See, that still has blue in it. So I'd have to clean that out a little bit. Test it again, now it's clear. If your water looks like coffee, then it's time to change out your water and get new water. Okay, check with your teacher if you have any questions.